Hey, greetings and welcome to Making Sales Social Live. I'm Bob Woods, and with me today is the LinkedIn Whisperer, Bryn Tillman. What's going on, Bryn?
Hi, Bob. Not much or lots, I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
having a lot of fun. Noticed a couple of new changes in LinkedIn that are coming up. Not what we're talking about today, but spending my time investigating for sure.
Yeah, it's always an investigation. It's almost like a new crime scene every day, except it's good stuff. So yeah, definitely. Speaking of LinkedIn, let's talk about who knows your prospects on LinkedIn.
Welcome to Making Sales Social Live, as we share LinkedIn and social selling training, strategies, and tips that will have an immediate impact on your business. Join Bryn Tillman and me, Bob Woods, every week. Making Sales Social Live.
Great
LinkedIn,
topic.
as we all know, is all about networking. It's been that way since it started back when I joined it in 2003. It's also about who they or your connections know just as much, if not more than who you know, which is especially important in this wide world of sales that we're involved in. So today we're going to detail 5 different methods that you can use to find out who in your network knows your prospects. We're also going to quickly share how to go from discovering who knows your prospect to asking for that all important initial sales conversation. So we're going to start wide. It's kind of like a sales funnel. We're going to start wide and we're going to kind of narrow our way down as we go through it. So let's talk about just a general search. And that's, we're basically talking about going into that search bar in that search box at the upper right of every LinkedIn and just using it from there.
So, general search, what we're doing is we are asking LinkedIn to give us a list of people that we are already connected to that
Mhm.
know exactly who we're looking to meet. So, the first thing, which we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on today, is you've got to figure out who your ICP is, your ideal client profile, right? So, who are they? And what filters do we need to use in order to find them? It could be location, it could be industry, it might be by title. But once you've honed that in, you can search your entire network to find out who knows them by using a second degree filter. So, a simple search inside of LinkedIn, when you click on the search bar and you hit enter and you go to all filters, one of the filters is a relationship button. They have firsts and seconds. So in this particular case, we hit seconds, complete all those other filters, and hit enter. And then LinkedIn looks at all of the connections of all of our connections, and those that match show in a list. So if we are looking to meet, let's say, CEOs in the marketing and advertising in the New York area, you add all of those filters and a second degree filter, and now you're going to identify who in your network knows those people. Now, at the end of all of what we're talking about, our list of how we're going to teach you how to do this, as Bob said, we'll teach you what to say once we've identified those. But ultimately, with these folks, it's about leveraging our existing relationships. Who do we know well that we can ask for either introductions or permission to name drop?
Exactly. So I mean, even just starting out just with that little nugget about, let's just search everyone. There are so many potential people that you can draw from because you're using those additional filters. You're just not scrolling through pages and pages and pages of information essentially. So, using filters even with a general search can really let you hone in on those people so that you can locate exactly who you're looking for.
Chris had a question on this that I really love. What if there are two people that know that person, or three people? So there are a few things that we can do. One, we can just choose one, the one that we're closest to, and ask. Or you could drop all of them a quick little message. And I guess I'm jumping ahead versus waiting till the end, but because the strategy really is, Chris, I noticed you are connected to Bob Woods on LinkedIn. I'm looking to reach out to him in the next couple of days. But before I do, I'm wondering, how well do you know him? And do you have any insights that you might be able to share? Right. Then I go, Steven, I noticed you're connected to Bob Woods on LinkedIn, that I'm going to be reaching out to him in the next couple of days. But before, so you can send that message to 3, 4, 5 people. We're not asking for a call. We're just asking, how well do you know them? And do you have any insights that you'd be able to offer? So there are times where I have 30 shared connections and I go through and I find 6 or 7 and I send that message to all of them. And 2 or 3 come back going, oh yeah, he was my fraternity buddy, or I worked with him a few years ago. He's a great guy. And those are the people that we then want to start a conversation with. Like, that's great. I love it. Are you open to chatting for just 5 minutes where I can learn a little bit more? So when I reach out, the end of that conversation, right? So I get on the call with Chris and Chris is like, Bob, he's a great guy. I've worked with him for years, right? Awesome. When I reach out to Bob, can I mention we chatted? And that's why we want to get on that call. Or you could even say, great, Chris, when I reach out to Bob, should I tell him you said hello? So at Bob, Chris Glatz and I were chatting and your name came up in our conversation and he says hello, is going to really create an immediate connection with your prospect.
I love that. And we got 2 points down in one thing. So that's even better. So now you not only know how to do a general search, but going from that, discovering who knows your prospect, asking for the initial sales conversation, and even the step before that. The second one we're going to talk about now is searching by the client or prospect name, which is really good too.
Yeah. So in that same search, when you hit enter and you go to all filters, right under relationship will say connections of. So I could go in there and I could go Bob Woods, and then I go down and I see what CEOs in the United States in marketing and advertising or whatever industries, could be many industries, does he know? And now I can reach out to Bob, right, with the 7 or 10 people that he knows, because what we're asking LinkedIn to do is, here's our ICP, our ideal prospects, and how many of these people does Bob know or is Bob connected to? So I have this list and I say, hey, Bob, hope you're doing well. I noticed you're connected to quite a few people that I'm going to be reaching out to on LinkedIn. Before I do, I'm wondering, do you have 7 minutes where we could jump on a quick Zoom and I can run these names by you and maybe you could provide some insights? This is great for your clients. This is great for networking partners, anyone that you have a good rapport with or relationship with, and you can always open it up to them. And please feel free to look through my connections as well.
Reciprocity. It's important there.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we have this list. I run a list of, let's say, 20 names by Bob. 6 of them are people that he knows well and says this would be great. And now when we get permission to say, hey, when I reach out, Bob, can I use your name? And then I reach out to each of them, and Bob Woods and I were chatting and your name came up in conversation, and half of them will convert to calls. And the other half you'll nurture over time. And over time, they may convert later on.
Next one is searching by referral partner name. So speaking of networking and things like that, this is where all that really comes together.
So, I think that's did we say client the first one? Did I just mush them together?
You might have mushed both of those together, because actually it's it's going to be a pretty similar process between client and referral partners. So insert in your mind there whether it's client or referral partner, but it's essentially the same thing, which actually then gets us to number 4, which is a slightly different angle.
Let me just add one piece to it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So networking partners, before you meet for coffee, before you meet on Zoom, before you go to lunch, reach out with a little note. Hey, Bob, I'm really looking forward to meeting you for coffee next week. Feel free to look through my LinkedIn connections and make a list of people that you might want to meet. And if it's okay with you, I'll do the same and we can review the list when we're together. And now you do that search the same way, right? You do that search, connections of, you build your list, you whittle it down to a few. Okay, now let's go to number 4. Oh, wait, there's a question here from Dewanda. How do you keep your contacts from phishing your network with unsolicited messages? So you can't completely, right? But the first thing I would say is build a purposeful network, one that you communicate, when you have the perspective of being a lion, a LinkedIn open networker, what happens is you've got all these connections that you have no relationship or rapport with. When you have relationships with your connections, they're less likely to do this to you. But it's not completely unheard of. I mean, I've had people reach out and use my name without my permission, and it's kind of icky. When someone reaches out to me and they drop someone else's name, before I respond, I go to the other person. And I'll say, "Hey Bob, Chris just reached out to me, mentioned your name. Is that someone you recommend or refer, or is this, do you put your name behind him?" Right before I have this conversation. And he would say, "Of course, Chris is a great guy." But there
Yep.
are on occasion where you would get like, you can't completely avoid it. And that's part of the risk of social media, right? Where you might get another LinkedIn trainer that would tell you you can avoid it by closing down your connections, but we never recommend that because this is a networking platform. So although that's a solution, it gets in the way of growing your business as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's why, your connection base is like your tribe. You have to protect your tribe. You got to protect your house, as they say in sports. And so, that's why being very purposeful about who you accept in, and hopefully the other people are also being very purposeful about who they accept in, should prevent, excuse me, a lot of that. It's not going to prevent all of it, but it should prevent a lot of that.
Yeah. Now, Chris asked, how can you develop relationships for those connections that I don't know at all? So we talk a lot about taking inventory, whether you export your connections or search your first degree connections. And we want to start with value. We don't want to reconnect with them with a pitch. Maybe you have a poll that you invite them to vote on. Maybe you ask them their opinion on something. Maybe you listen to a podcast that it would be relevant to them in their world, and you reach out and I thought of you when I heard this podcast. Here are some of the takeaways. Love to hear your thoughts. Start a real conversation with them that's not about selling to them.
Precisely. So let's next go to searching by company. So again, this is a slightly different way to do it, but if you do this along with everything else that we've talked about, you're definitely going to expand your pool of potential people that you can reach out to. So, Bren?
So search by company. This is absolutely one of my favorite features in LinkedIn, and it's relatively new in the free. And weirdly, what I'm about to say, it used to be a function in Sales Navigator, and it's no longer. So this is a better search feature in free LinkedIn than in Sales Navigator. And we're going to talk about Sales Navigator in a little while, but company search. If you want to find companies, well, there's two ways to do this. Companies that you already have a first degree in. When you click on that search bar and hit enter, click on companies and all filters. Or if you click on all filters, there's a drop down where you can choose companies. Then you can identify what industries and company size that you like to prospect, and then go all the way down. And there's a first degree relationship button. That will give you a list of every company that's represented in your connections. So you can look through it, and that meets the criteria of companies you want to work with. So it's a very powerful search that has a huge impact on prospecting. The other thing that you can do from a social proximity inside of that account is you can look up the company, click all employees, and filter down first and second degrees. So that filter that I just talked about is only your first degrees. But if we want to see second degrees, who knows our prospects, we could do that by company. So before I go to Chris's question, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, there's nothing really to add to that, except for that it's powerful and it does give you another really good way. Like I said, it's kind of like taking a little bit of a detour off of that main path, but still, sometimes you can actually do better when you take detours, and this is definitely one of those areas.
Awesome. So Chris asked, should I delete the ones that are not in my business? And the answer is probably not, but not definitely not. They may not be in your business, but they may know people in your business. And so the
Mhm.
social proximity is not just the first degrees, but it's the second degrees. If
Mhm.
you come across someone that you don't know, how you connected, they're not in your business, send them a quick little note and just say, "Hey, John, we've been connected on LinkedIn for some time yet. I don't think we've ever really talked. I'm using LinkedIn for networking. Can I ask you how you're using LinkedIn? And if you think that there's some value in us being connected?" Let it go a few days. And then if they don't respond, they're not going to be responsive, maybe even go a week. And then you could delete them if you really don't think there's an opportunity there. But recognize every time you delete them, you're also deleting the power of the extended network.
Right.
So, I would say each one is an individual decision on who makes sense and doing some
Yeah.
deep dive.
Yeah, and never forget that you don't know who they know. And that's even people
Right.
off of LinkedIn. I mean, this person may not know anyone directly on LinkedIn, but that's just because they're not connected. They may have a huge network of people who they're just not connected with on LinkedIn, but they can still help you with too. So, like Bryn said though, it's a very individual, by each individual case decision.
Asked and answered. Awesome. All right. What do we
All
have
righty.
another? Is that everything?
Yeah.
Or is there another?
Sales Navigator.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Sales Navigator has some amazing search tools that can really drill down to the exact right people that you want to meet. So while the concept is still the same, right? Like who knows who we want to know. So we're searching with second degree connections, or we're searching individual people. We can really drill down with incredible filters, like who's posted in the last 30 days. Those are active people on LinkedIn, and you have a much higher chance of responses when they're active, right? Because they're hanging out. It also gives you an opportunity to engage with them before you reach out. Another one is new job in the last 90 days. Depending on what you sell or what you do, these people are much more open to having a conversation when they're new in a position because they're looking for new and innovative ideas. So,
Especially if they were brought in to change things.
right, absolutely.
Yep.
Well, this went really fast.
This went fast. A lot of good little nuggets in there though for everyone. And thanks again everyone for joining us on Making Sales Social Live. If you're with us live on LinkedIn right now, we do this every week, so keep an eye out for us. If you're listening to us on our podcast, you haven't subscribed already, we'd like you to do so. So hit that subscribe or follow button depending on what you're listening to us on. 2 shows weekly we had, this one and our Making Sales Social interview series, where we talk with leaders and experts in sales, marketing, business, and many more areas. More info, socialsaleslink.com/podcast is where you want to go. And
Yeah.
when you are out and about, make sure that you are always making your sales.
Social.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.
Hit subscribe now and click the notification bell to get the latest videos from Social Sales Link. Give this video a like and comment down below. Register for free resources at linkedinlibrary.com.